What's going on, Nerd Nation? Welcome back to another very special episode of the Comic Book Nerd Nation. Today, I'm here with Topher.
Hello.
Pirate.
Hey, guys.
I'm phoxxtwo. Today, we're coming from Free Comic Book Day, Nostalgia Inc., Mason, Ohio. Special issue. As you guys can see in the upper right corner of your screen, this place is packed. Literally, as soon as they opened the doors, it was just like a mad rush.
It was ridiculous.
To get into.
Even Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, you can see Spider-Man over there. He came out. So,
Gotta keep the peace.
so let's talk for a minute real quick about Free Comic Day and what we're picking up this year for Free Comic Book Day. Topher, you want to start us out?
Sure. Let's see here. There's a new DC put out Future's End, which I mean we haven't had a chance to read any of them since we just picked them up a few minutes ago. But that one looks pretty interesting. I also grabbed
Might have to talk a little louder.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and Rocket Raccoon. There's a if anybody's familiar with the Mouse Guard series, it's actually it's kind of interesting. It's like a sort of like a medieval adventure series with mice, anthropomorphic mice. But they actually put out a small bound book, which was actually really fancy for Free Comic Day. So I was kind of excited about that.
That was the bound one.
Yes.
And you'll have to really quick. Let me jump in. You guys will have to excuse the audio quality if it's a little bit off this time. We're not sure how this is going to turn out. This is our first on-site podcast. I'm going to need you to project a little bit.
I can do that.
The people want to hear what you've got to say. So back to what else did you pick up?
Gosh, there you know, trying not to be greedy. Most places only let you pick up, you know, a few each. But there were definitely some other ones I was interested in. There's a issue of Avatar.
I picked up the Avatar and
you?
Uber also.
Uber looked interesting.
Which looked really
and
neat.
then there's a new issue of The Tick that looked kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna have to try and find at some point because I loved that cartoon as a kid.
Yeah, I
Oh my
remember
gosh.
watching that as a kid too. Did we hit everything that you got? Or
I got picked up Fubar.
What is that about? Do you have
It's
any
a
idea?
special operations kind of unit, terrorist hunter. From what it looked like, I don't know. I'm 8 years in the Army. If it's got guns and
There you go.
spec ops,
There
I
you go.
gotta grab it. What else did I get? The one that has the Boondock Saints at the end of it.
Oh
I
yeah,
kinda
the
wanted to
Boondock
check
Saints
that
comic
out.
book. Yeah, that's right.
I needed to pick that one up. Hopefully there's one left when we get done. I think I might have got my limit though. Amazing Spider-Man 1.
No, that is
that-
definitely.
oh, that's
that is
not
definitely-
free. That's
oh,
not a
shit.
free one.
That's not a free one. So,
And
anyway,
good luck finding it.
Yeah,
at this
right,
point.
right. Actually, before we jump in to talk about what we've been reading, before we were recording this, we were speaking with people that own and work at the shop here, and they were telling us about how Amazing Spider-Man #1 is out of stock everywhere because there was a problem where there was Marvel printed on really, really poor quality paper. Yes, I have to curtail my language to the crowd, but they printed on really terrible paper, and because of that, tons and tons of these books were damaged in shipment, and I think they said 90% or something
I
like
think it was
that.
quite that high, but you know, I think some places it was like as high as 75%.
75% of loss to damage. And he was telling us that there was a deal where for this particular issue, if a store purchased or pre-ordered 3,000 books, they could have their storefront put into the cover for that particular book at their location. That would be absolutely devastating if you did that, and then
Right.
75% of them got
Oh yeah.
destroyed. That would be terrible. So I guess these things are not available really anywhere right now until they do a reprint. Or
Do you kind of wonder sometimes if
that was maybe planned
if
a little
that
bit?
was planned, you know what I mean, to increase value, like how DC.
I guess
because everybody's going to want it.
I guess they knew that they were gonna have to print a ton of these. You know, I mean, it's people have been looking forward to this issue for months and months. So
At
I mean,
least.
I guess it kind of makes sense that they knew they were going to be printing tons of them, and maybe they want to, you know, get some more profit out of it by, you know, reducing their production costs. But
Sometimes it seems like companies do that, like DC. You know, with Nightwing issue 4, they just accidentally only printed.
That's a good
You know,
point.
a third of what they
How do
needed
you
to.
accidentally only
You know
print
what I mean?
33%
and then all
of
of a
what
sudden
you
it
normally
increased value? Like,
you know, but I mean, I don't think that they had any control over the distribution companies, like
That's true.
ruining things in
Well,
shipment.
no,
so
but
They could have picked better paper.
they could have.
that's what I'm saying.
but-
I mean, that's a prime example. Like, I mean, that's something that's completely controllable within house. Has nothing to do with the distributor.
If they want to make it rare, though, I mean, don't hurt the comic book stores by doing that. You know, you're at that point you're not. You know, you're driving up demand, but you can do that just the same by printing fewer issues or raising the price on it, the cover price on it.
Does
if
that
it's a
help
special issue.
in the back end though? Like if you have a more sought after issue of we'll say we'll use Spider-Man since that just happened. If you have a more sought after issue because it is kind of rare right now because of the fact that so many copies were damaged, does that send more people back for month 2 to get issue 2? So then do you see a bump in sales?
That's a good point. I mean, if you miss out on the first issue, are you less inclined to collect the series?
That's a good point.
So I don't know.
The perpetual yin and the yang of the situation.
But then
if you
again,
will.
it is Spider-Man, and I mean, there's so many volumes and everything. I mean, there's going to be people that's going to get it whether
That's
they got
true.
the first one
That's
or not.
true.
Now, if it's something off the wall, like or something new run or something,
Yeah,
like
whole new character,
then-
whole new
right,
story arc.
But
or-
you're
well, I guess it is-
guaranteed
It
with
is a new
Spider-Man.
character. It's Peter Parker now.
right.
On that note,
So let's jump into talk real quick about what we've been reading over the past week or two. I'll start things out. I've been keeping up with the Batman Eternal. Have you guys read any of this
I've
yet?
read the first one. and that's it.
I picked up the first 2, and then I think I missed the third one somehow, so I'm going to have to go back for that. But I haven't actually started reading them. I've been catching up on so much other stuff.
Yeah. I like so many other people were kind of skeptical at first, especially with Professor Pig being the first supervillain, if you want to call him that.
Super villain.
Right.
See, there you go. Air quotes. You
there
got it
you go.
right
I got
that
it.
time.
Air quotes.
Super villain.
Right. Supervillain.
Did you air quote the super or just or
Both.
Oh,
You got to do both.
Okay.
So, I was a little skeptical at first, but I've read it every week the day it comes out, and I've really, really started to enjoy this. They've incorporated Batgirl into the story. Carmine Falcone's taking front row center seat. Alfred is playing a very big role. It's really interesting the way that they're able to do it without. It's almost like they're focusing on Jim Gordon without him being like the main character of the series. So
where again exactly does this take place in the timeline? I'm still unclear as to where it fits
I'm
in.
still a little unclear on that myself, but I
Is
think
it after
Forever Evil.
After Forever
Yes,
Evil?
I believe that
is it
it
off
is.
in the future, or
I
I
don't
think
know.
I heard something about like when Forever Evil ends, the main Batman series is going to pick up like a year in the future or something.
And I think that
And
that's
then
supposed to mean
and then this the
Batman
weekly
Eternal.
Batman Eternal is supposed to be like 52
Filling
issues.
the gap.
That's supposed to be like what happened in the year
I think that's
between.
I think that's the
between
case,
Forever Evil
which is really weird. Another book
series
that I
picks up.
picked up, which I actually didn't. I chose not to read because it's post Forever Evil, Batman versus Bane, and it's like, okay, yeah, I want to read that. I definitely want to read this, but I don't want to read it before I get to read the last Forever Evil book.
When's that come
So,
out?
like 20 days from now.
Yeah.
So we're like still
God,
not even
that's
close.
like forever.
Evil. Gosh.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we went there.
You're
folks.
fired.
Right. The other thing that I read, I picked up copies of Boxers and Saints that we talked about with Gene Lewin Yang that was on our podcast last week. Awesome books.
Really?
Really good. Really good read. It's one of the comic books. It's not so much about a superhero, quote unquote, if you will.
There you go.
But it's very it's well written in the way that it really evokes some emotion and brings feelings, and you really get to identify with the different characters and things like that throughout the books. So it's awesome. The ending, which I'm not going to spoil for you, is really a twist a couple times over. So it's a twist. So anyway, what have
Night
you been?
Shyamalan would approve.
Actually, not you.
Oh, no, saving the best for last.
So,
I see.
yes.
What did I pick up? Oh, I read Pinocchio Vampire Slayer by Van Jensen.
Does he like sharpen his nose to a stake?
Better
go
yet,
around and like
every time
telling lies?
Every time he tells a lie, it grows, and he breaks it off
And uses it as a
and
dagger.
uses it
Oh,
as a
that's
dagger.
kinda awesome.
It's amazing because
So it
like,
basically encourages him to lie so he can kill the vampires.
exactly like Geppetto, or not Geppetto. What was his father's name?
Geppetto.
Yeah, Geppetto. He's killed, and so by vampires, and that sends him on this like mission to
Tell
kill
me
them all.
that it all ends in him like telling a lie right in front of Vampire Geppetto and sending its nose through his heart.
Yes.
Victory!
It's actually through his throat, though. But anyways,
That doesn't kill him, though.
but it's different because he's got the magic wand. He's got the magic stick. So like,
Okay.
So anyways,
I see what you did there.
So it's really funny because like he'll be surrounded by vampires and he'll be like, "I'll take." He's like, what does he say? He just says quotes like, "This is nothing," like. I got this under control, and all of a sudden his
It's
nose
like,
shoots out. He snaps it off, and then just starts sticking vampires. It's hilarious, and the reason why it got me into it, Van Jensen was the one who just did the new Flash annual, which was the return of Wally West into the new 52.
There's a guy over there in Wolverine costume with the
that is
jacket and
that
the
is
claws
fantastic.
and
You
the
guys
hair
will
done up.
hopefully
That's
see him
pretty
as he
awesome.
passes by the booth here.
So
I'm kind of like, sorry to interrupt, but it's kind of neat seeing all the people come out in costume.
Yeah, absolutely.
what else?
Cue Spider-Man again.
I didn't even hear that. What else did I read? I went and read Deadpool Kills Deadpool.
How was that?
It's good. I like it. I mean, I've read it before, but I when I read it, it was one issue here, one issue there, and I just went through and just read all 5 or 4 or 5 of them.
4, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
4.
yeah, and just and just all in one night, sat down and read them. It was really good. What else? Went back and started reading some Blackest Night, some Green Lantern.
I want to start that. I want to start that series.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's good. That's really about it. I mean, I haven't really read too much this week.
What have you been reading?
Oh my gosh. So
X-Men.
not just X-Men, Avengers versus X-Men,
Okay.
but yes, X-Men. So yeah, like so it was funny. Fox and I were here at our local comic book store last week,
We have to
and
speak a little louder so the mic.
Fox and I were the mic's over here, the camera's over
Yeah.
here. It looks weird.
Yeah, it's gonna
but,
look quite interesting.
I'll like look this way and talk this way.
There you go.
Does that
Make-
work?
make
There
it
we
happen.
go. All right.
Make it happen.
So Fox and I were here last week, and and he was looking to pick up the get on his pull list the new Original Sin series.
Yeah.
Where they,
Yeah, I did. I read the initial
Did you?
issue
I
0.
haven't
It
checked
was
it out
awesome.
yet, but
Great read if you haven't.
they're gonna kill the Watcher, which sounds really interesting. I'm excited about that series. But
Why do
it
you
was-
have something against the Watcher?
No.
Is it because he has a big head?
He's kind of stuck on himself.
He is a little. He never wants to talk to anybody. It's like he's too
I
good
know
to talk
he's
to
so
anybody.
antisocial. He just sits up there like they should call him the voyeur instead. It's like no, I just like to watch.
Okay,
But
moving on.
So I didn't read that, but the point of the story is, Fox was looking at the the list of tie-in issues, and he was like, oh my gosh, he's like 8 issues, like, but there's like at least a dozen other issues that all have to do with the storyline. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of books.
Yeah, I know.
Well, what's funny is I've been
Dougie
reading.
Downer.
Well, I've been reading Avengers versus X-Men, big AVX series from a couple of years ago, and I found online a list of basically like a timeline of like chronological order of all the tie-in issues, and there are 85 issues in total, including the lead-in series, like the intro series.
For what?
For AVX. 85 issues that are total. Like
I have a bunch of them. I didn't
there's
realize
there's
there was that
well
many.
there's 12, well 13 because it's 0 through 12 of the main AVX
I have
event
all.
book.
I have all of those.
But then there's also like AVX Consequences, which is like the
I think
the
there was a
epilogue
Hulk
to it.
versus Avengers as well. I
haven't
don't know
even
if
seen
that. I
that
don't know if
one on the list.
that. I don't know if that fell under.
But like Avengers, New Avengers, Wolverine and the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Men Legacy, all the different X-Men and Avengers books all tie into it because the event lasted like 6 months or something like that, and so like every comic that that any of those characters are in were all involved. So there were 85 issues, and I'm like,
You gonna go buy them? You gonna eBay them
Oh,
after
God.
we leave here?
maybe. How do you know I didn't already?
He was on his phone quite a bit.
No,
a second
but
ago.
so I've been trying to read that. I'm up to like I'm about 70 issues through it. So I'm
wow.
I'm down to like I think the next one on my list is AVX number 11. So I'm getting pretty near the end, but it's been really
Have you
interesting.
collected them all already?
Oh
or
God, no.
Are you
no,
reading
I have,
them on the digital?
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
I have a Marvel Unlimited subscription.
Do you like that?
So, I do. It's been awesome. I mean, like it's like I don't remember the price. It's like $60 a year or something. But I mean, it's $60 a year, and pretty much you can read their entire
Whatever
back
you want.
catalog. Now, new issues appear on the Unlimited service 6 months after they come out, so
wow.
you can't read like absolute current stuff. But I mean, like
As long as you're
there's-
reading older stuff.
There's so much. I mean, it's not even older stuff. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I like there'll be like a series. Oh, I meant to read that, and I'll go and look at it. Oh, it's on here already. Hey, that was 6 months ago. I said I need to read that.
wow.
We've all done that.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
It takes us forever to read the stuff we actually get. So
Yeah,
I mean, being
that's not
6
a lot.
months behind. Hell, I'm at least 6 months behind on most of the series I'm reading anyway. So
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's a hell of a deal. It's been great. I went back and that was where I started reading all the old X-Men stuff. I've been reading a bunch of the random Marvel Now series, like the new Guardians of the Galaxy and what stuff that I would like to try out. Like oh yeah,
Without
that looks like
having
an
to
interesting
purchase
story,
them. Right.
but I don't want to
Right.
hunt them down and buy all the issues. My only complaint with it was the mobile app for it. Like I like to read on my tablet, and the Marvel Unlimited app on Android was just awful. It was terrible. It has so many bugs on it, which sucks because it's a really good service otherwise. But they just recently released an update for it just last week that actually made it so much more usable. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. I wish DC would come out with something like it. At least. One, because it'd be cool to read some of the DC stuff, and two, because it would give some competition there. And
They have an
Marvel
app.
would improve their services and stuff.
They have an app that I have on my phone that you can get some of the really old stuff, like Action Comics #1, stuff that none of us
You're-
could ever
you're not
afford
buying
to buy.
a physical copy
right.
of anytime soon.
Just so you can actually go on and read it, and it's actually free for a good amount of those. But I have a question. Actually, what you said gave me two questions. First of all, through your subscription to that, does that give you any inside information to the Marvel experience, like walkthrough events that are somewhere looming in the future?
Oh no, I mean it doesn't really. I mean it's more a back catalog.
Okay.
Like they don't. But
I didn't know
but
if
they
that
do.
came with any kind of special update newsletter type
No,
situation.
I mean there. I'm sure there's an email newsletter. I get so many emails. I don't know. But I mean Marvel has their own update newsletter where you can get news and stuff like that. So I mean you can come by that stuff in other ways. But it's kind of cool because they also offer. You can month by month they'll have a special spotlight. Like last month was this past month was Captain America, and so
Right.
they would give you a rundown of key issues from his past.
I got you.
An old issue, show you an old issue where he was going around in World War II with Namor and Bucky, and then they'd show you okay, then read here you've got
Some of the ones where Bucky was Captain America.
when he first when the Avengers first thaw him out, then the issue where he first joins the Avengers, then the issue where he meets up with Winter Soldier.
So you can kind of get a timeline
an issue
without
where
having to
he
read
and
the whole.
key issues where he and Black Widow did some adventures.
Okay.
So it's kind of like they give you 10 to 20 key issues in this character's past that kind of brings you up to speed on something that may be going on now.
Trimming out all the fat. And
Right,
just getting,
right.
Here's the
It
point.
was kind of really cool.
The other thing, when you were talking about the Marvel app for your phone, that reminded me about how Amazon purchased Comixology
They did.
recently, and there was a big, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there was a big problem with the app crashing, and not just crashing, but actually deleting
Wow.
people's entire libraries. Now, supposedly, I guess the libraries are stored on a cloud somewhere, obviously, so I guess there's obviously Amazon's, no, don't worry, or anything like that. Keep buying your comics,
Well, what
Right.
they did was they completely because I have a Comixology account, and what they did was basically you'd go to their app and they say, we have a new app now, go here, and you open up this new app and install it, and it's almost the same exact thing, but you no longer can, well, at least I was unable to purchase in apps now. I have to go to DC, Marvel, or their website. It can't be done mobily. So like through my
I heard about that, but this was where, like, say you updated and you already had a library of 100 comics digitally in your Comixology vault or whatever, if you will. It completely cleared it out. So when you opened and like logged in and opened the app, it was just totally empty. I can't imagine how
you had to install.
I mean, how terrifying would that be if you bought this stuff religiously every week, week in, week out?
Comixology's had a history of that in the past. Anyways.
Have they? I've never really
If
been
you
big
go
on
through,
digital.
I remember when I first got it, I was going through like reading the reviews, and people said the same thing. You know, like, oh, I had $100 worth of comics just gone. Like can't retrieve them. So they didn't like it, but. The problem was, I think, at least for me, because I had to think, like, where's all my comics at when I went to the app?
Right.
And so I installed the new app, and you go to downloads in there, and then from there it pulls up all your stuff. You have to re-download them all again.
Oh.
But, it's
can
not,
you imagine?
It's not that bad if you don't have a...
If you don't have a lot.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Or,
Like,
but
imagine
see,
you got
how many
5,000
Set it up
of
in the
them.
background, leave for the day.
Yeah, but how
let
many
it-
people also, you know what I mean, like... Okay, if they transfer their library, but you don't have to download everything. You download individual comics. So if you've already read it, what's the point?
Download what you want to
You know what
read
I
right
mean?
now.
Like as you go along.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
makes sense. Or sense. Sin. I just saw somebody walking by with original sin.
Original Sin.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you said you've bought digital comics on Comixology and whatnot. How do you like the digital comics? Because like for Marvel Unlimited, you're not actually buying comic. You don't own a digital copy.
Right.
It's more like a like a library. Like you stream them. You can you can download some for offline reading, but they go away if you uninstall the app. Like it's all temporary. You're just borrowing them. Like I still can't get behind digital comics.
It's one of those things, and I'm in both realms of it. Like I like having because a collecting angle, and if it's worth money, But at the same time, it's so much storage. I mean, look how much. Look at our comic collection, and it's just
true.
It is
ridiculous.
But I'm still in the mindset of like, like if I pay money for something, I want to have something for it.
Well,
like,
sure. I mean,
digital files, like they talk about software piracy and all this stuff, and people downloading things for free.
Outside of that, that's
and I don't think that's right. If you want a comic book, you should buy a comic book. But buying a digital copy, I just don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. What do I have to show for that?
Well, here's the thing, like with
Amazing. Handful of nothing.
Amazing Spider-Man. A lot of stuff I'll end up double buying. Like I bought Amazing Spider-Man last night through Comixology because I wanted to read it, and plus I got the enhanced digital, which has Inhuman #1 on it, which I think they had a $10 one you could buy in paper.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same thing. But so I bought that, and because I knew I didn't get to the comic store Wednesday, I knew I wasn't going to be able to pick it up. But I still want to know it, and I still plan on trying to find it, depending on how much they're going to go for.
Right.
Because I already got $10 invested.
$784.
Right. Especially with Diamond
the fifth
Destroyer.
printing.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, so I kind of get your point on having something, but at the same time, I mean,
I just want to say real quick,
I have
check out
so
this
many-
guy's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
yeah, that's
That's
pretty
a
awesome.
pretty sweet outfit. with the
He opened the case before, and he had a little cosmic cube in it. I don't know if you saw
great.
it. It was kind of neat.
But
That's pretty awesome.
I have so many comics on my iPad that it's ridiculous. So like whenever I'm in the mood to read something, I just go back, open it up, and boom, there it is. The only problem is I sit at home sometimes and have a few cocktails and I'm like, I really want to buy comic books. So then so it's never a good idea.
$75 later.
It's great if you want one right now. Like if you want something, oh my god, I want to read this issue. I don't feel like going to the store. Like, oh, it'll take me forever to track this down. I'll buy it.
And you know what? And there's so many things that I'm sold on. Like when you come into the store, you pick up new things based on this looks cool, or an artist or a writer that you like see did something for another company. But in a store, I was always apt to like, oh, I got to get this, pick these up, and
That cover looks
and I
neat.
thought,
That cover looks
right,
neat.
and I thought digitally, like, oh, that'll stop me. I'll save money.
No. Now
No,
you can
because
just
now I
do it
see
7 days a
everything,
week.
Everything.
Now you can just click. Oh god, I spent $50.
Right, and it's ridiculous.
And you don't even have to drive to the comic book store.
Right.
But
I
no,
like-
But I saved money
I like
on gas.
the main thing I like buying for the comic book store, buying from the comic book store, not digitally, is because it gets back to the community. It keeps the shops running. It keeps new comic book buyers coming to stores to get it because, that's where the industry's at is the new readers that are coming up. Not so much the old readers. Old readers keep money going, but the shops is for new readers. Because look at all the kids that come in on Free Comic Book Day.
I know. Yeah,
features of the
There's
readers.
one.
Exactly.
Absolutely a ton of them in here today.
So it's definitely something that
I'm a big fan.
You want to buy paper, but it's a convenience factor.
Well, it's something we talked to Gene and Yag about last week. Getting young readers interested, hooked at a young age.
True.
It's
That's
a
true.
great way to learn to read. It's with TV and video games and all the
Other
random forms of
distractions.
entertainment these days. Getting kids interested in actually reading something is hard these days. And so even if it's just something like a comic book, that's great.
Yeah. I'm personally a big fan of not the digital, but the actual paper copies, of the books, because like Pirate said, it supports the local shop, like Nostalgia Inc. here where we're at today, for Free Comic Book Day, but also just I'm going to pull from both of your answers, just like Topher said, the having something physical in your hand that you purchased with your money, you have something to show for it. And if down the road, for whatever reason, God forbid, I needed to have some money and had to sell my comics, I have something that I could potentially liquidate.
Resale value on, most collectors aren't, there's two types of collectors. There's, you go around, you look
How
at
dare you.
key issues, to turn around and grow in
flippers.
value. But most people they like to talk about how much their collection is worth, but they're never going to sell it. They're never going to sell that.
God forbid I part with a
exactly.
single issue, even though I have 7 copies of it.
Right. So, it's but if you ever did want to, liquidate, you can't do that. No one's going to buy your used digital comics because they can get their own, or
They're always in mint condition, though.
well,
They're all, they have his digital fingerprint.
They have
on
no
them.
smoke damage, no water damage.
because 6 months later I can pay $60 for a Marvel Unlimited subscription and
read
read them
all
all
of them.
anyway.
Oh, what a convenience! I have tons of DC if you're interested.
Oh my God, I've read, the one thing about being able to read digital that is nice is you don't have to worry about messing it up. You can go through them a lot quicker.
You can eat
Like,
your Cheetos while you're right. Am I right?
I do it all the
I've been
time.
Drink a
reading,
beer and read.
like I said, I've been reading, AVX and 85 issues in this series. I've been able to blow through it because
all
I'll be
digital.
like, I'll be taking a break at work, I'll be on lunch or something, or I'll be sitting there in the evening, with 15 minutes, nothing to do. Oh, I'll read an issue, just bring it up, read the next one on my tablet. I don't have to go sort through the box, find, okay, it's
Dig
this
through 7
issue,
long boxes.
undo the tape, pull it out. Nope,
Be all
don't get the
careful.
tape stuck on the book. Delicately read it, put it back. That takes.
And they really intense panels where there's so much action, your hands are sweating.
Yeah, it takes
you don't get that.
It takes 3 times longer to read a paper version than it does the digital one. Which makes me feel like I got even less money's worth because I read it, digital
Right.
copy in 10 minutes,
Super
and I'm like,
fast, yeah.
well, that was $4 I'll never get back.
Right. So let's take, first of all, real quick before we jump into news and other things. Excuse me. I want to take a quick second and thank Topher for starters. Our website is now up. Comic book nerd. comicbooknerdnation.com. You can check it out. We're going to have plenty of written interviews, comic reviews, video reviews of different movies, all kinds of good stuff. We also have all of our podcasts in audio format available on there, as well as links to the video versions of the podcasts.
And if you happen to go there
And
and
the
check
forums.
it, and the forums have been up for a while, so please
Yes.
go register, chat with us,
Do
start
it
your own
now.
messages, talk with each other.
So it's not just us talking to each other.
Exactly.
Right?
Hey guys, everybody, did you read this? And by everybody, I mean you two.
right.
And Brian, who sadly in New York couldn't be here with us today, but
He's got something going on, I think, isn't he? Doing something?
I'm not sure.
he's-
We'll have to catch
I'm
up
sure
with him
he's
later.
keeping busy, but yeah, if you were lucky enough to go visit our website in the last 8 hours the entire 8 hours that it's been up and running, you'd see the news post that announces we're here today. So you could be here right now if you had checked our website.
Right, which we actually we did run into a fan, Leslie,
We
that
did.
was a follower on Facebook and subscribes to the channel, or was it either that or on the Stitcher feed? I can't remember what she said, but she listens to the podcast avidly. From what she was saying, we got a picture with her. We're going to post that up on the Facebook. So thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie,
for stopping out and supporting us. We really appreciate that. enough about us. Because really, we're kind of boring people.
You are.
I'm pretty action packed.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm the boring guy, apparently.
Pirate and I are
So,
laughing a minute.
on to some news. First of all, Spider-Man 2 came out. We're not going to give away any kind of spoilers, especially because of the mob of people that are here that would
Especially
probably
because
hurt
you
us.
haven't seen it, you
I
can't
haven't
give
seen
out
it.
any spoilers.
That too. There is that too.
But
I'm
I
not
saw
excited.
it.
I'm not excited to see it personally. I didn't.
Did you not care for the first one?
No,
Or?
didn't really care for the first one.
First
I
one
just,
it was okay.
It just doesn't, it just didn't really appeal to me enough to motivate me to want to go to the theater and see it. I may watch it when it comes out, on Amazon or,
Did you think
or
it
later
was?
on Netflix.
Did you
or
think it was
something.
better than the Sam
Tobey-
Raimi,
Tobey
Tobey Maguire trilogy?
No,
No?
not really.
Really?
Yeah, no, not
You know
really.
what though? Like I've noticed with Spider-Man is, and you've brought this to my attention in the
He
past.
seems too hipster now.
It's very much it's the origins of him is so redundant, and every time it's like I think it's because Fox constantly has to keep rebooting it, and they're just throwing it in our face every time. Like we get it, he was built by a radioactive spider.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody knows what the origin is
I
here.
still
Why
love
are
those
we
Wolverine claws.
I know
going over the
How does he pick up his comic books?
very carefully without cutting them? So that's out there. Check it out. We'll probably do a full blown review. I'm assuming fairly soon once I get off my lazy butt and go watch it.
I'm sure if Brian was here, he would be complaining about it
Yeah.
because he does everything
I won't
except for Cap 2.
I won't go into details about it, but I did see it last night, and I thought it was good.
1 to 10.
It started out kind of slow. Like it took a while to really hit its stride, and it kind of bounced around a little bit in terms of quality and theme. Like it kind of felt like
So not on par with the Marvel stuff.
no, like
That's
it ended.
hard, kind of.
That's
It
the
ended-
bar now, though.
I know, but
that's the bar.
It ended strong, and overall I liked it. I enjoyed it, but it's not on par with the Avengers or Captain America 2 or Batman, Dark Knight. It's just not. I wish it was. It was still really good, and there were parts of it, like the actors in it are all fantastic. They have great chemistry with each other, but just the way some of the scenes were shot, some of the effects just looked way too in your face. They were trying to put some background stuff in that they were
Effects for the sake of saying we're doing effects
well,
here.
it was like it was the same problem I had with the first Hobbit movie. There were scenes like fight scenes where they were doing stuff where it was clearly just fan service for the 3D version. It's like
Yeah.
whoa, we're swinging something past your face.
Did
you
you
know,
watch
it's
it in
like
3D?
I don't like it.
I didn't. I saw it in 2D, but you could tell the parts that were clearly in there just so they could make it look cooler in 3D.
Just because of the 3D. I hate it when they do that. I
And-
really do.
And unfortunately, there were parts where like you'd have a really strong, really well acted, really well done scene, and then you'd have another scene that was just kind of like half dialed in, and like it wasn't put together very well. There were some distracting elements to it that kind of pulled me out of the experience, but overall I still enjoyed it because I'm a Spider-Man
Sure,
fan.
yeah. Well,
It
yeah.
was still
We all
good,
are.
and a lot of people, the actors all did fantastic jobs in it. I thought they were all really good, but it didn't quite
Live up
come
to what you
together
wanted.
quite the way I wanted it to.
That's understandable. Well, like I said, I'm sure we will be covering this in depth at some point relatively soon in the future. I would
I
would
plan on
guestimate.
seeing it on
Soon
I
as
would
you see
guesstimate. Yeah, probably once I see it because I'm sure they'll all see it
Yeah,
before
you
me.
usually last on the
Pretty much.
folder.
The next thing we want to talk about is that DC has announced the fact that they're going to be doing a Justice League movie, and that is not the Superman Batman movie that everybody has thrown so much speculation about. So when we've talked about that in the past, and they're throwing this huge list of characters at us as far as who's going to be in it, I
Wonder if
think
it's
I
gonna
think a
cost
lot of
them to
those
tone
are
it
going to
down.
be. I think a lot of those are going to end up being cameos
Right.
now to set up that Justice League, like
Wonder
I
Woman.
was saying at the beginning. That's right.
Well, I
That's
mean,
right.
but I don't.
Wonder Woman's supposed to. She's slated to get what two movies on her own.
And then supposedly
And
they're
then the
finally
Justice
going to
League.
do a solo Wonder Woman movie.
And
Right.
there's also a Flash movie that's slated to come out the year before the Justice League.
Now, are they using the guy from
I
Arrow?
don't think so. No.
Really?
No.
Because
Gary
I thought they were
Gustin.
going to try and connect
No,
those two.
they've said that they're going to keep those
Really?
universe. The television universe is going to be completely separate from the cinematic universe, which I think, for the sake of DC, is a good move, based on the fact that Marvel is already, with Captain America 2 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as intricate as the tie-ins are there, and you know how much each one is relating to the other.
It's hard to write for that. I mean,
I listened to a really interesting podcast that had one of the chief creative officers of Marvel Studio, or not Marvel Studios, but Marvel, on it, and he was talking about how they've been planning on this whole thing all the way up through the end of the season and the tie into Cap 2 for a long time, but none of the actors, even on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., had any idea of, you know,
Yeah,
the
they said they've
gravity
known
of
that they
what
were
the
doing
change.
this for like 8 years now or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous like
it's
that.
been pretty far planned
They
out.
said
so-
they've got, you know, like movies mapped out, like the future of the Marvel Cinematic
Yeah, I read
Universe
something
mapped
that
out,
was like till
past
20
the year 2020 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, they've
ridiculous like that.
not committed to, but they've already got it planned as far as what they're going to be doing.
Which on one hand sounds ridiculous, you know. On the other hand, that's awesome. Like that's how they've managed to make them so good because
And the interweaving
you know,
stories
It's
and
it's
whatnot.
not just exactly, you know,
One
they've
sets up
they've
the
had a
next.
chance that you know this is going to do this and set this up, and you know they're going somewhere. They're not just you know off the cuff
Doing
making
a
one
movie
that,
to make a movie.
What do we do now? You know,
Right.
like it doesn't. It feels like they all belong together
You know,
because
those-
they were all planned together.
You know, those movies really, when you watch them, and you watch like Captain America, and then you watch Thor 1 or whatever 2, 3 movies that you pick, if you sit down and do a quick marathon of, well, not really quick, but a day-long marathon,
marathon?
Of those Marvel Universe movies, they feel like they're made by fans for fans. That's what I think makes them so fun, so engaging, and just pull you. They just suck you into that world of the Marvel Universe so well.
I agree, and also the fact that it really makes you want to see that next one, no matter what character it is.
Right.
Because they do such
Because you don't want to
great-
miss a step.
Right.
Right.
There's so much that ties into everything, and it's really, you know, man, like I have no problem. Like for a whole year, you know what I mean? You're waiting, or 6 and
So,
7 months.
well, that
whatever
being
it is.
said, does this news about the announcement of a Justice League movie that is not the Batman Superman movie that we've talked about, does this make you? Does it? I've been all for Batman Superman from the beginning. You guys have had your skepticisms and stuff like that. Brian more than you guys maybe, but. Where does this change how you feel about the idea of the Batman Superman movie? Do you think this is going to help it, hurt it?
Well, we
Does-
all
do
knew
you
the
wanna see it
Justice League
more
movie
now?
was coming out. We all knew that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that this changes anything for this movie. I think how this movie does is going to affect the Justice League
Oh,
movie,
absolutely.
but I don't think the other way
Absolutely.
around
Yeah.
is going to have any effect. You know, you can say, yeah, we're going to do this, it's going to be awesome, we're going to set up for it, you know, but I think the only thing you have to do at that point is make sure that this movie feels like it's a movie in its own right and tells a good story,
Not just a stepping
and
stone.
isn't just a setup for something in the future.
Yeah.
And I think now it's going to be looked at even more with an eye
Scrutiny.
for that. You know, so maybe it will have an impact on how people feel about it. You know, like, you know, does it stand on its own, or is it just a stepping stone? But you know, the other character they just announced recently, they announced the actor who's going to play Cyborg.
Cyborg, right.
In the new. In the
What
Batman
he's
Superman movie.
he does plays, right?
Yeah, he's
like Broadway type
I
plays.
can't
think?
remember who it is. I remember reading it and go, oh yeah, that's cool. And now
Yeah.
I can't remember
What do they call
who it
those?
is.
Thespians?
Thespian.
Thespians?
Yes.
Thespians?
We'll be careful how we say
Thespian.
that. So yeah, so that's out there. We'll obviously keep bringing more and more news and shoving it down your throat, whether you like it or not, because it's exciting stuff. That's big news. We would, I'm sure you guys can agree with me that you'd love to see DC really hit a home run and pull it off and have Marvel Universe and DC Universe
Oh, it'd be
cinematically
great.
on the same stage.
Oh,
You know, the
Golden
level.
age of comic cinema.
It really, I truly believe that we're approaching that very rapidly, especially with the leaps and bounds that Marvel Studios rather has done with the cinematic universes.
Came a long way since Howard the Duck.
Yeah, right. That movie was terrible.
What?
What movie?
Howard the Duck.
Oh,
That movie was
Oh.
I don't
amazing.
know if I ever even saw
You could
that.
probably watch it for free on YouTube. It's that bad.
Actually,
I don't think
think
anybody
it's on
would
Netflix.
actually copyright claim that movie because I don't think anybody actually wants.
No, we didn't do that.
Speaking of, did you guys hear this? Okay, I heard this on the news the other day where somewhere in, I want to say New Mexico or somewhere out west, they dug up all the old ET
Oh, yeah.
Atari games because the Atari,
Yes.
the ET Atari game was apparently so bad. And
That was a while ago.
I believe I remember actually playing the game.
I know. I think I had a
But
movie.
they like
They
collected
just
these
dumped
things up
them straight in the
and
landfill.
just
Yeah.
buried them.
They're
Well,
like,
apparently
nope.
this got uncovered, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of these ET Atari
See,
games.
here's the
I would
thing, though,
love to
too.
get my hands on one just to see how if it
I've
works.
read
for
I've read two
starters.
sides of that story. I've read one that it was a hoax, and I read another one that they found them all, which is if people who did have the game is probably going to lower the price, or
Yeah.
to $1 maybe. Like, but I mean
It's gonna seriously upset the vital retro Atari market.
Yeah,
it's
it's
somewhere there's
crucial
a
to the
thousand
world
hipsters
economy.
that cried out at a grave disturbance in the force.
I wonder what Alan Greenspan is gonna
Say about
He
this.
might lower interest rates to compensate.
This will be all over
It'll
Bloomberg
yeah.
News.
Mhm.
So
I've been watching
It's not
the
even
Na-
Greenspan
I was
anymore.
watching the
Who is it?
Nasdaq.
I don't even
It didn't
know.
What's the
affect
guy's
it.
name?
I can't
I
remember.
can't even remember the
I don't know.
Fed chairman name
So
anymore.
anyway,
Your jokes are lame.
that's
I
out.
don't know what
That's out there.
Now I'm boring like Fox.
Well, nice. Thanks. I'm surrounded by assholes. Anyway,
So coming out of Marvel news, their big thing they announced coming this fall, they're gonna do a series where Wolverine dies.
yes.
Nope.
You don't. Okay, we're gonna get to him. We'll get to Negative Nancy over here in a minute. I think it's neat. I think what I don't like about it is the fact that obviously he's going to come back at some point. We don't know how, when, why, where, any of that. I don't really care for that, but I like that they're taking one of their, cornerstone characters, probably, arguably the most popular Marvel character to date would be Wolverine, and they're going to kill him off. I don't know how long he's actually going to stay
Yeah, that's the question.
dead. It's one thing, if they're going to take the time to really write this and do it well and orchestrate the whole thing and kill him off, I personally would like to see him stay dead for at least a year. A significant time that you can have some story arcs around his death, why he died.
I think it'll be at least that, because if you look at characters they've killed off in the past, they don't normally res them right away. At least in Marvel, like I think Superman came back pretty quickly when they killed him. That
Doomsday
didn't last
killed him.
very long at all. But they've killed Jean Grey twice now. She came back the first time after. But it took a good 10 years. They brought when they killed her off the second time. They still haven't really brought her back, except for alternate timeline versions. They killed off Nightcrawler years ago. It took them years to bring him back. They killed off Colossus in the late 90s, I think, and then Joss Whedon brought him back in his amazing or astonishing X-Men run.
Do you think that
4 years
it'll-
later or something? So it'll be a while. Cap, they killed Cap
Yeah.
in Civil War,
Yeah.
and it took. It was about 2 years, I think,
I
before
don't
he
know if
came
it was-
back.
was
It
it even that?
Well, before he was officially
Oh,
back,
okay.
there was there was the whole
Some
quest to go
lead-in.
get him,
Right,
and thing.
right.
Like it turns out he wasn't really dead, and so you knew he wasn't dead, and that he was coming back for a while, but he wasn't actually back and doing his thing for a couple years. So I think it'll be a while. The question is just what meaning is it going to have?
Right.
What was it they said? There's only been let's see. The only person to ever stay dead in Marvel was Uncle Ben.
Well, there used to be a saying that the only people who stay dead in comics are Uncle Ben and Bucky Barnes, and then damned if they didn't bring Bucky
Bucky
back.
Barnes. You know what? And this was in that interview that I was telling you about, and I wish I could. It was Joe Quesada. Joe Quesada was talking about that in a meeting. He was talking about, because he was talking a lot about Cap 2 and everything, and so they started talking about Bucky Barnes, and he mentioned that saying about how nobody stays dead except for Uncle Ben and Bucky Barnes, and in a creative meeting, he challenged the writers and said, "Why can't we bring Bucky back?" and then that's how it spawned the whole Winter Soldier storyline, and and we ended up with what we've got.
I mean, that's a lot more action-packed than Uncle Ben.
This-
I mean,
this
if they
is-
bring Uncle Ben back, then
This is
I'm all for
also
it.
this is also the guy who wanted to never bring Peter Parker's marriage back.
What don't you like about it?
The whole
You're-
thing-
you've
okay.
been pretty adamant about this.
I mean, it's Wolverine. I mean, the guy's had, and I don't care what Brian says, that's in the Ultimate Universe, not in the 616, whatever, but he's had, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. cut his head off, had his body separated, and his head on a table, and he's still alive. Nick Fury flat out tells him, like, your powers have nothing to do with regeneration. Your powers are surviving. Like, you're a survivor. Like, so, I mean, the fact that you kill off him, it's plain and simple he's going to come back. I'm wondering if Marvel's not kind of doing it like they do in the Amazing Spider-Man, where they kill him off, leave him off a while, and then throw a big character back in with this huge reboot of the whole franchise. You know what I mean? And kind of
Could be.
and then put it on crappy paper.
But
And
he's-
ruin a bunch of, and then ruin a bunch
And
of
then a bunch of them
comics,
just
the
get
first
ruined in
prints. Yeah.
there's X-23, excuse me, who's a clone of him, female clone. There's Dakan or Dakin or however the hell you pronounce his name, who's his son. There are other Wolverine-like entities in the Marvel
Deadpool.
universe that could become, the new Wolverine. Like, there have been characters. One of my favorite older characters was Banshee of the X-Men, and he wasn't around a lot. He kind of came and went on different teams, but I really liked him as a character. And they give him a punk death. I'm super pissed about that. I'm still bitter.
Obviously.
They gave him a punk death about, I don't know, 15 years ago or 10, 15 years ago, something like that. I don't remember what it was. He got hit by a plane. No joke. He was like some evil Gabriel Summers guy.
So wait a minute,
Vulcan
what-
comes and takes over. Like, he's gonna crash this plane, and Banshee's like his vocal cords have been
He got a
hurt,
bad case of
and
laryngitis.
he finds out he realizes he's the only one who can possibly stop this, so he flies up there to try and stop this plane, and he's trying to stop it with a sonic scream, and he just doesn't have it in him, and just
So let me get this. Let me get this straight. You got Superman's weakness is kryptonite, and you got Banshee's weakness is
Is
a bad
air travel.
a bad case of laryngitis leading to plane wreck.
He's got a horrible,
Okay,
a horrible travel agent.
I mean, that's like 747 times worse than kryptonite. That was a really bad joke. I didn't even laugh.
Was that flight, was it
747?
flight 370?
No,
that did it?
no.
Oh no,
Too
that
soon?
would
Too soon?
I wouldn't even gone there.
Yeah,
It's a
a
747 joke. Anyway, but my point is, they killed him off. He's stayed dead for 10 plus years.
Because you're the only person
And-
in the world that cares
Shut
about
up.
him.
Banshee fans, come on, let me hear you. But
Crickets.
shut up.
They had to bring him back because he was in a movie. That's the only
So
reason
he has a daughter though, Siren, and she kind of she has like pretty much the same powers. So she's kind of filled his role now because there was someone else to kind of fill that.
I bet
role.
she gets
So-
killed by a fire truck.
She can't yell louder than the sirens, so it still just macks her.
As someone who has actually been hit by a fire truck, I am not amused.
And that's a story for another episode, ladies and gentlemen.
But so I mean, there are people who could carry on, the Wolverine identity. you
Right,
know? So,
right.
I mean,
Sure.
like, it's possible that it could last. A
I would
while.
really like to see them, for a year, possibly even 2 years, but still have like the surrounding storyline around the circumstances of his death and how it in turn kind of trickles down and affects the other people in that universe.
Well, they're going to do that because that's how they sell other books.
Right,
And that's-
right.
That's the money makers.
Well,
Right.
and that's how deaths in comics have meaning, is how it affects somebody,
other-
the other
Right.
characters.
The other characters.
I mean, sure, like you because in the end, eventually the character's probably going to come back somehow, in one form or another. They're not gone. So the only way to make it meaningful is to have, an in-universe effect on the characters around them. So I'm really interested to see, like who do you think is going to be affected most by it? And how's he going to go out? Is it going to be,
That's what I'm
is he going to be
interested in, how
saving
they-
someone or?
I vote they drown out.
Well, he actually, as of the end of his latest solo series, he lost his healing factor. So I mean, so
Doesn't lose the surviving factor.
I mean,
Just saying.
if you can't heal, you don't survive your head being cut off. I mean,
It's a good point. He's a valid point.
if
there.
you can heal, sure, you can regenerate or what.
Well,
I mean,
okay, in Deadpool kills Deadpool, they had a degeneration gun. I mean, does he really need to lose that? No.
I mean,
I was
are
really
we,
sad when Dead Dog got
Are we
killed.
really using Deadpool as an example of the technical rules in comic book?
Yes.
It should be. They had a Galactical.
But I mean, like,
Galactic.
I like Wolverine, but
Can I get that
he's-
in ground or out of ground? Or how's that?
I'm okay
No?
with them. I'm okay with them killing him because he's just done to death. Like he's
very,
an
very much
Avenger. He's an
overused.
X-Man. He gets used. He's the key character in everything. He's like the key holdout in Avengers versus X-Men. He
Most valuable Hulk comic book.
Yeah,
is,
he plays a key part in Age of Ultron. Like he's
He
like
does
the
play it
crux of the Marvel universe, and like
I would like to
that's-
see how they do it without him.
that's okay, but I just feel like he wouldn't do that much. Like they just put him in because he's popular.
Right.
Like I feel like they force him into things. Like you guys know I've been reading the older X-Men stuff. In the 80s stuff, he's much more subdued. I mean, he's still a hero, and he still is a go-getter, and he's still a killer, and he's still an honorable samurai underneath it all. But like he just had more personality. Like now he's just the gruff, okay, I gotta go do this kind of character. And like
Constantly pissed off.
he
And
constantly like that whole willing to kill thing. It's done to death at this point.
I think-
every single series you read, every crossover, he's like, well, I gotta be the guy to kill everybody. Like it just everything
darn.
he's
Gotta
in.
go
He's
to
like,
work.
he's like, who do I gotta kill this time? He's like, because I'm the only one who'll do it. It's like that's fine every once in a while, but when you
like
do
to
that
see it.
in every series,
I'd like to see how they have some other people step up and take that role of lethal.
it'll be
enforcer,
interesting to
if you
see
will.
if somebody
You know what?
is willing to take that step and
yeah,
be like,
cross that line.
As much
It was a
passion
role
as you
that we
just
don't
put
have
into that
fulfilled.
right there, like
I
I think
wanna read it
I
now.
think the only real reason why you feel this way is because of X-Men Origins. Hands down. Because you despise that movie so much that you're like,
we may
do
have
it.
to.
We may-
We may have to do a movie review of X-Men Origins sometime, full length.
should do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 like roast of it. Basically,
I
sit
think
there and
that's-
like watch it and just
I think that
point
you know
out
what?
all the terrible things.
That's
in
going
it.
to be on the to-do list for. I'm going to say within
Write
the
it
next
down. Put
within
it
the
on the
next
list.
5 episodes we will do this.
That's gonna have to probably be a two-parter.
Okay, well,
I think.
the next 5 to 6 episodes we will do this. So that's about it, guys. I think we're about out of time for the episode today. Like we said earlier, make sure you check out the website, comicbooknerdnation.com. Check out Nostalgia Inc. on Facebook, Comic Book Nerd Nation on Facebook. We want to thank the guys at Nostalgia. We'll try and get an interview with them. They're super busy, as you guys have seen. It's been a nonstop line of the masses coming through here. It looks like the free comics are getting picked through pretty thoroughly
Some of the
at this
stacks are
point.
gone and a lot of them are low.
We've got a bunch of pictures. Whitney has taken a ton of pictures for us that we'll be posting on the Facebook page. So make sure you stay tuned to that. And I guess that's it for today. So I'm
Yeah.
phoxxtwo.
I'm Topher, and again, thank you to Kevin and Tom of Nostalgia Inc. for having us today.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm Pirate. See you guys.
See ya. All right, guys, we're back here with the owner and operator
And operator.
of Nostalgia Inc. He was gracious enough to let us come in today and do a live podcast on Free Comic Book Day. So we just wanted to take a quick minute and talk to him. Let's start things off with, how did you decide? When was that pivotal moment when you decided to open a comic book store?
It was probably a few years ago. My department laid off half of the people there, so I figured it was probably going to be my time at some point, and this was Plan B.
Okay.
So instead of trying to find another job in a really crummy business environment, it was get this thing open.
I got you.
Had you done something like this before at all? Like, was your background in, any sort of business ownership, entrepreneurship,
No,
anything like that? Or?
I worked at a comic book shop like way back when in college, and just after college. And actually, that was place called Nostalgia Inc. up in Maine, and really respected store up there for a small town area. And they closed a while ago, but that was the background of the business end of comics. It's like you learn a lot as you go, you know? And the business hasn't changed that much in 20 years. So,
if you hadn't have had that experience, you think you would have been able to do something like this? Or?
I think so. I don't think people sometimes understand that you need to have a good mind for business. It's like, oh, I'll just sell comics. It'll be fun, and it's a lot of hard work.
If it were easy, we'd all be doing it.
Right. Yeah. So you really do have to know your market, and early on, we overbought on some things and whatnot. So you learn as you go.
How long did it take to really get set up and running efficiently? And
probably 4 or 5 months.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So it was not like it was quite a testing the waters type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, comics have to be ordered 2 months ahead of time. So you're guessing what people are going to want, before anyone tells you that they're going to want them.
Well, they send the solicitation lists out like pretty far in advance. Don't they?
Yes, they do. But a lot of people don't look at those. So
Right.
like this week we had a small number of people subscribed to Amazing Spider-Man, and everybody and their uncle came in looking for it. So we were out of those pretty fast. But that's just one example, though. You're trying to guess what people are going to want, and sometimes you're off, by too many, and sometimes
Not quite enough.
sometimes things sell out way too fast.
Better to be off and order too many, or better to be off and order not enough?
Better to be off and order exactly the amount you need.
I see what you did. So tell us a little bit. I mean, you guys are going to see in the video the crowds that came through the doors here today. From your end, how crazy was it?
That was insane.
There was,
And
how many people?
There was. It was like a herd of cattle came in.
Yeah.
I mean,
instantaneously.
We had a line out around the corner this morning. Last year when we did this, we did have a really good crowd, but no one had heard of us yet.
Right.
This year, it was more than we could have ever expected.
How many people do you think were in here?
I wish I'd kept count.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, it had to be.
It was hundreds.
I was going to say well over 100.
There was a steady stream for a good,
Yeah,
few hours.
it was definitely in the 3 digits. So.
That's fantastic. That's
That's
fantastic.
great. So, is this your biggest day of the year then?
For a comic book store, this generally is their biggest day of the year. Yes. This is
What
bigger
would
than
be the
Black
other-
Friday.
What would be the other big days for?
I mean, Black Friday.
Oh, yeah.
It's still a retail business, so you've got that.
Right.
There's still all the Christmas stuff going on. But yeah, no, there is nothing really that compares to this.
It was quite an experience sitting on this side of the table and just seeing the mad rush, the waves of people coming in. I have a question. Okay, being on the business end of the comic book store, and you can see everything come in and go and hear everybody's opinions. What do you read? All of it, none of it.
No, I'm pretty. I try to read as much as I can. Because you gotta kind of know what's going on.
Right.
I'll at least skim books. That way I can say, oh, this is going on here. So I may not be reading Supergirl, but I know that she's a Red Lantern now, for example. But right now I'm reading. Saga is probably my favorite. Sex Criminals. I really enjoyed. Can't think of the name of it now. Original Sin.
Oh yes, that was a very good book. I really liked that the issue 0.
It kind of surprised me. It was a lot different than like the big event thing. It seemed very. They have to make you care about the Watcher because he's just a guy that shows up and watches things. So to give him a little bit of humanity, I think was a good move on their part.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
And to do it with Nova, who a lot of people may not know.
Aren't that familiar with.
Right.
He's not that A-list title.
Right. He's definitely a C-list character, and this is actually a new Nova from the one that people who know Nova would be used to seeing. So that was kind of a fun series, and just gorgeous artwork throughout. And,
Oh yeah, I agree.
and then next week he'll be dead. So so we'll see what happens.
So does working here and just the sheer volume of comic books that you touch, does it ruin any of the magic for you, or do you still love them every bit as much as you did the first day?
I love it. I mean, we're living in an age where there's so many creator-owned titles out there that we're kind of like a creative renaissance at this point. I mean, the industry kind of collapsed and fell down in the 90s. It's rebuilt, so Image has kind of become the new Vertigo. So a lot of those writers are going there and really stretching their creative muscles, and they've just been killing it with some great books lately. And then the big two, they're still doing a lot of the events and all that sort of thing, but they're starting to adapt and try to get some of those quirky titles out there. So Marvel's coming out with like Silver Surfer and Black Widow and characters that are kind of C-list,
fringe characters, if you will.
Yeah, but they're making the books very different from the rest of their line. It doesn't feel like a Marvel House book anymore. So you have Phil Noto doing the artwork on Black Widow. It's gorgeous work, and the writing is just stellar on it.
So speaking of big events that Marvel's doing, Wolverine dying. How long do you think he's going to stay dead?
We should take a pool on that. I'm going to put the over/under on 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Think it'll be that short?
I think so.
I think it'll be over 6 months for sure.
Yeah.
I'd take the over on that.
I think they'll run it. I think they'll run it a full year.
Even
and then bring them back.
it seems like Marvel's been keeping their dead characters dead longer than DC has. I mean, Cap stayed dead for almost 2 years.
True. I mean, they do have an easy out though, because technically there were 3 Wolverines running around during Age of Ultron.
Right.
So for all we know, they could just be killing off one of those, and
Right.
the other guy's like,
one.
"Hey,"
Just kidding. I was here the whole time.
Right.
Bring a new one in the
Pay
next
no
week.
attention to the Wolverine behind the curtain.
Right. We don't know what happened in that cave when the other Wolverine died. So for all we know, there's
Fairly
3.
large gray areas.
And that's the only way he could be in all the books at once. If there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
It does explain that.
True.
72 different titles that he covers.
Right. So there's 3 Wolverines and there's 7 titles.
Well, we wanted to just take the opportunity to thank you very much again for having us out
Well,
here.
thank you for coming in.
Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/
Nostalgia Inc. Mason.
Nostalgia Inc. Mason. Check them out, follow them, support them. Great shop. They got lots of games. You guys have regular game nights.
Wednesdays and then Saturday and Sunday afternoons.
So Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday afternoons, comics everywhere. Really, really great shop. Friendly, knowledgeable, as you can see about the titles. I think that's about it.
Great. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you
guys.
so
Thanks for coming
much.
in.
Thank you.
Take it easy.